Hey there, and welcome back to another Moon Knight review. And here we are, the finale of the series. We have 42 minutes to wrap up everything we've seen so far this season. Does it do all that perfectly? Nah, probably not. I think it was honestly just a little too short to cram everything they needed in, and so elements of the episode didn't pan out quite the way I would have liked. But ultimately, I still think they've done a good job, and that Moon Knight's going to be a very interesting character going forward into the MCU. I'm really excited to see what they do with him. But anyway, with all that being said, let's jump into the review. We start off the episode with a scene that shows what happened in the immediate aftermath of Mark's death at the end of episode 4 when Harrow shot him twice in the chest. The goons loot his corpse and take the statue of Ammit before leaving behind his body to rot, whilst not discovering Layla, who had quite obviously murdered one of the henchmen. I mean, come on, Harrow even hears the suspicious groans and doesn't check it out? Bit plot armory. Also, this scene felt like a bit of an anticlimax. I thought he was going to bring Ammit back straight away, and then we'd have to wait, but nope. We then get more hints at Jake Lockley when Harrow speaks to Mark and Steven, and whoever else is in there, before Layla chases him down with a scarab to help track him to ensure that she can kill him and prevent the return of Ammit. So she jumps in their convoy, and soon after they arrive at an Egyptian military checkpoint, the majority of whom Harrow just straight up kills with his magic staff, which judges good hearts from bad hearts. And then Taweret starts possessing corpses in one of the funnier moments of the episode to try and convince Layla to calm down and formulate a better plan. And hey, maybe even be her avatar, pretty please? And so do all avatars get cool armor and stuff, like super healing? Because that seems like a really good deal to me, especially since we've established that they can't really do much to you when you stay in the mortal world. Also, I had to laugh that literally like one army man, one, survives this out of what, a dozen? I guess we know how the writers feel about people in the armed forces from this scene. And at this stage, we then cut to Harrow barging into the gods' meeting chamber room and facing off against the avatars of the rest of the Ennead. And man, this is going to be such an epic fight. Can they use their suits here? God, I hope so. This is going to be so cool to see Harrow get pushed to the limit in this huge Avatar versus Avatar battle royale. And oh, they died off screen? And so quickly. Jesus, how embarrassing. Imagine locking up the only god who could have stopped this happening, despite him telling you that this cultist was trying to release Ammit, and then being all shocked Pikachu face when the cultist does indeed release Ammit, and then kills you in what, a 5-on-1 battle? Pathetic. I figured at first that they must be all in on it. Turns out they're all just stupid. Anyway, after clapping cheeks, Harrow releases Ammit, who's pretty cool looking all things considered, and then expects to die because he is an unwashed sinner. But she decides that for the first time ever in history, she's going to accept him and use him as her avatar. Okay, sure. I did really like this scene though. It was nice to see Harrow sweating bullets and almost crying, losing his composure because he's so sure that he's about to die and that he deserves to die. And it would have actually been quite funny if she just straight up killed him for being unworthy though. Kind of an anticlimax, but he does get defeated in a bit of an anticlimactic way anyway, so at least this way it would have been funny. We then cut back to Layla, who releases Khonshu and then refuses to serve as his avatar, so he has to go and face Ammit alone. Also, I kind of feel bad for the rest of the locked up gods as well. And also, why did none of the free gods with dead avatars now just show up like Ammit and Khonshu? Surely they could have helped in the brawl. Why are none of them talking to Layla about becoming their avatar? Do they just not care? Are they seriously going to do nothing about this? They didn't want her to be free. But from here we go back to the Field of Reeds, which Mark finds utterly disappointing because he doesn't have Steven with him. And so against Taweret's advice, he abandons the field to go to Steven in the sand, and after a really sweet speech about how Steven saved him when he was a little boy, he also freezes, but not before putting his heart into Steven's hands. Which in turn brings them both back to life, and then Osiris, for some reason, opens his gate to allow them to come back to life. So he'll do that, but he won't help Khonshu fight Ammit in the scene that's intercut with this one. He won't help in the brawl. Nice. But anyway, that fight scene is also just very awesome. Love it. Even though it didn't really last all that long, it was very cool. But yeah, come on Osiris. Make an appearance to help out properly. Dang, some ruler god. But back to Mark and Steven, I really liked this scene because it was really needed. When he sacrificed himself to save Mark, we could see that Steven had accepted who he was and who Mark was to him, but it wasn't quite reciprocated. And so this is that complimentary scene for them to tie a nice ribbon around their relationship and reconcile them as a team, Because I feel like for Jake to actually get introduced, the bond between Steven and Mark needs to be strong. It would be too much if all three had a really complicated relationship at the same time, and it would kind of bog things down from a narrative perspective. And so from here, Mark and Steven come back to life, and Khonshu saves them from dying of the gunshot wound again, before they all agree that after this fight, Khonshu is going to leave the two of them alone for good, and they fly off to battle. And as this is happening, the avatar of Osiris, who somehow survived when everybody else died, manages to crawl away with nobody noticing, and conveniently tells Layla how to win, and then immediately dies. And since they need more than one avatar to seal Amit away, well, it looks like Layla and Taweret are going to team up after all. But since our favourite hippo screams in joy, this gives Harrow the chance to bring down the temple on Layla's head. Oh, and we learn that Layla's dad is in fact in the Field of Reeds, and is friends with the hippo. So, that's nice. I'm glad he made it. I can only imagine how excited he was on the boat after getting his scales read that proved he was a good person after believing in the Egyptian gods for so long and finally getting to meet one and then experience their world and afterlife. There's a good ending for that guy. But anyway though, she busts out and her costume is awesome. Kind of made me think of Wonder Woman, but to me this costume looked, cooler. I love the wings. Meanwhile though, Harrow and Amit enact their grand plan, and the Amit sleeper agents start massacring the city with their judgment power, sending out heaps of souls to Amit, who gets very big and doesn't really do much other than be big and eventually brawl with Khonshu. Bit of a letdown, her character, if I'm being honest. They build her up all season, and she lasts about 10 to 15 minutes, and then boom, she dead. Oh well though. Whilst the fight does end up being a bit of an anticlimax, whilst it lasts, it is epic. Seeing the two gods clashing intercut with Harrow versus Moon Knight, it was so awesome. And it was shot in a really visually interesting way. It wasn't just a basic jump cut style brawl, it was very cinematic. And after a fight between Moon Knight and Harrow, as he's about to go for the kill, Layla comes in and saves the day, and reunites with the duo, which is followed up by such an awesome fight. Everybody comes out of this looking great. Mark looks awesome, Steven looks awesome, I love the tag team vibe they had going on. Layla gets her Iron Man saves the kid at Stark Expo moment to do the whole inspires the next generation thing, and then Harrow finally overpowers them all, and looks like he's going to kill Mark once and for all. Except then he gets Jake Locklead, who massacres everybody off screen. And then Layla and Mark seal Amit inside Harrow and send him off to an asylum instead of just straight up killing him. And I mean, that seems a bit risky, but okay. Whilst Mark and Steven are also able to renounce Khonshu once and for all. And he agrees to renounce them. Both of them. But not the third. A very anticlimactic ending, all things considered. I feel like I wanted a little bit more. But then on top of that, what we did get was awesome, so I'm not too upset. Oh, and then Mark and Steven wake back up in Steven's apartment to put a nice little bow on the season. Until the post-credit scene, where Jake Lockley finally debuts, which reveals that Khonshu played Mark and Steven the entire time, as he knew about the third personality, probably from the get-go. And thus, this allowed him to stick around even though they don't know he's still there. And so, Jake Lockley puts Harrow down for the count in a mafia-style assassination. Although I gotta say, I have a few reservations about Jake. I mean, I like the character, but I'm not sure he's going to be a very heroic sort of person. He seems a bit brutal, monstrous, overly trigger-happy. Hell, I mean, killing Harrow, I get it. But did the two doctors need to die? Jesus. This is going to be interesting to see how it plays out in the future. Hell, I mean, he looked so gleeful as he shot Harrow. And I gotta say that whilst Harrow's defeat alongside Amit was a bit anticlimactic, I really did enjoy this ending. And I thought that the series ultimately went out on a high, even if this episode probably could have used an extra 10 minutes maybe. But as always, those are just my opinions, and now I'd like to hear yours. What did you think of the episode? Like it? Hate it? What about the season as a whole? I'm curious for your thoughts, so make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know.